Nordin Haji is set to go through a parliamentary process this week as the last step in his move back to the intelligence service, a place he served for over a decade before his appointment as the Director of Public Prosecutions. His appointment has drawn mixed opinions from those for and against him, with the naysayers stating that the decision of the office of the DPP to drop 8 corruption cases within a few months is questionable. Leila Mohammed looks into this appointment, or rather nomination, and brings us the following report.
The
nomination of Nordin Haji as the new Director General of the National Intelligence Service has seemed to have drawn divided opinion.
Miezi 8 hivi iliyopita amekuwa akiondoa kesi zilizowekwa ili kushtaki watu ambao wanahusika na ufisadi na mambo mengine katika uongozi, na kesi hizo akazitoa mahakamani pasipo na sababu mwafaka.
Haji has defended the decisions made, citing lack of credible evidence to secure a conviction. CJ Emeritus David Maraga, in his tenure, accused the investigations and prosecution departments of presenting non-foolproof cases that ended up collapsing, much to the disappointment of the country that had been excited with big fish arrests, many of whom were let go on technicalities or whose cases still drag on in the courts.
What else do you want to ask?
Many have wondered whether this is what happened to the 8 critical corruption and crime cases that were dropped recently, and while only a clearer look into the contents of those files could clear the air on the reason for those cases collapsing, many within the human rights sector note that it is important for the DPP's office to be fully independent of any other government arm.
The greater use of forensic evidence, the focus on evidence and witness testimony, particularly witness protection. Thirdly, that the cases are not weaponized by any other part of the government, in particular the executive. These are important pillars in an independent prosecution department.
What we should not lose sight of is the responsibilities we still have as a nation. There is no single appointment that will ever be agreed on by anybody, and it does not matter which part of the political divide anyone comes from. What we should ask ourselves and what we should consider is, do the candidate merit the position in which they're being appointed in?
The question on the minds of many would be Haji's suitability to hold office as the presidential whisperer on critical security information that has been gathered.
We would acknowledge the open door policy that he maintained throughout the period that he was there. We, of course, are not the appointing authority, nor are we in Parliament vetting him. But I think these are considerations that must be taken alongside the concerns that have been raised about the withdrawal of cases.
But even as the voices against his appointment get louder, within the civil service there are those who speak of significant changes within the criminal justice system.
Ever since his appointment as the DPP, we've seen tremendous changes in court operations. Many cases that were stagnant and frustrated for ages got a new life as they came to conclusion. Acting as the DPP, the former backward culture of the lost files was brought to and halt by Haji personal intervention.
His last 6 months in office formed the bulk of concerns as the lead state prosecutor.
There is the controversy around the withdrawal of probably about 8 to 10 cases, which collectively would involve the sums of about 11.3 billion shillings, and that's by the National Integrity Alliance. That's on the leadership integrity side. On the Bill of Rights, the human rights side, we have worked to essentially ensure that justice is meted out for cases where people have been violated and where people have been wrongly accused.
Haji came to the fore when the then President Uhuru Kenyatta tapped him for the position of DPP in 2018. During his tenure at the NIS, he was part of the team that was tasked with curbing runaway terror activities within the Kenyan borders that led to Operation Linda Inchi, that was commissioned by the 3rd Commander-in-Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, retired President Mwai Kibaki.
DPP, of course, is involved in prosecuting, some of these terrorist cases, and the kind of position right now that he is said to occupy is fundamentally very important. it requires someone who has a deep understanding of national security as well as the national interest.
If he gets the job, he breaks the trend of the commander-in-chief picking ex-military officers to take over the top spy's job. Brigadier retired Wilson Boynet, Major General retired Michael Gishangi and Major General retired Philip Kameru all served in that role. The NIS has been critical in averting terror threats and has also been questioned over the Shakahola deaths for what many Kenyans have termed as slunking on the job, though reports have surfaced that while this intelligence was given, the acting authorities did not do much to avert the current situation.
It looks like we will require a lot of days to be able to comb this 800-acre of farmland and make sure that there are no bodies left.
The National Assembly's Departmental Committee on Defense, Intelligence and Foreign Relations is expected to handle Haji's vetting later this week. Leila Mohammed, NTV.